hasn't had an effect on our life in every day now, but basically, how has the musical itself affected social consciousness? So it's we're going to have a wonderful panel. This one. And I'm Misha, I'm your moderator for this panel from Diversity Geek. And our three panelists today are Jyoti Ramdat, also from Diversity Geek, who's the Social Media Communications Director for the organization, and also studying diversity and global affairs. Put that all together. She's also an environmental sustainability specialist. And then we also have Aspasia Lindstrom in the hand, who, wow, amazing book this woman has. Psychologist, behavioral scientist, but also a huge advocate for the benefits and influences of theater in terms of creating positivity in the world. Totally, so happy to have her on the panel. And again, we have the wonderful Sophia Kwong, who is an expert seamstress and specialist in historical costuming, and much more than that. I could go on. So, great panel. I'm happy to have everyone here, and I'm going to run over.
And I'm your moderator. My name is Nisha, and I'm actually, for my CV, I'm actually a neuropsychiatry specialist. I work as a medical provider for a living, that's what I do. And I do this for fun. I do this because I'm very, very, very passionate about the ability of connecting to your fandom and what that effect has on us, our life, our abilities, and our potential. So. Yes.
She already claimed the end.
Nope.
Mom always has.
I always moderate from the end. Because I gesticulate a whole bunch, so I don't want to, I don't want to distract my poor panelists. So we're going to go straight in. There's a lot to discuss. As we ourselves were preparing for this panel, it just all spilled out of the thorough discussion. So we really wanted to be organic. I will give you points, but I really wanted the three of you to discuss, and then we'll go from there. Okay? So I'm going straight in. What does having diverse representation mean in terms of Hamilton, the musical, but Hamilton as in Alexander Hamilton as well? How do you juxtapose that? And then what are examples of representation? Who's starting? You can start.
Is that me? Is that picking up the mic?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a theater group back in Claremont, Florida, and there's a couple points here. One point is, back in Hamilton days, you never would have had such a diverse cast that Lynn chose to so cautiously and on purposely. Can I say, is that a word? On purposely? It's a word. On purpose. Put almost like a chess match. It's kind of like, okay, I put all these people out here. I put in African American Jefferson. I put in African American Lawrence. I put in Hispanic Hamilton. Back in those days, that would have been unheard of, right? You wouldn't have had such a multicultural, diverse group of people to even be in the same room together and to be working so closely together. Back then, an African American person was treated like a slave. So, to have that group represent our history, our foundation of our country, it's like a chess game, and Lynn's kind of saying, okay, here's my social movement, America, checkmate. What are you going to do with that? And I just think it's brilliant that he was able to, put everybody out there like that, and then just change the whole. All I can come up with is movement right now. He just changed. He shifted what whether you're this party or this race or that race or whatever you are, you're in the same room watching my musical and you're singing the songs together in harmony. And that, I think, was his point. That is what he wanted to bring home to that musical.
Unification movement is what we came up with.
Yeah, the unification
I
movement.
just want to say this is not the moment, it's the movement. That's all.
right.
Yeah, it's not a moment, it's the movement.
That's right, that's true.
Did you?
Yeah.
Mommy Sophia. Okay, go.
Sure. So, and we also wanted to talk, we talked earlier about costuming diversity, especially when you see the cast of Hamilton and seeing how the styling is very different. You know, everyone has their hair down and they're wearing their hair naturally, which is nice too, which I really appreciate in the costuming element because, I mean, that really is bringing something new to the stage and not having your typical look. And it also, I mean, I don't know if I was thinking about this earlier, it kind of reminds me of how Shakespeare plays are often cast differently now, which I love. I think that's wonderful, is casting a different era or casting a different cast than what would have been at the time period. So I feel like having that casting ability has really helped Broadway as a whole grow.
Do you think that it's removed the label or the
Yeah,
expectation?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's what's really great about it, is you're seeing things move in that direction. And even on film too, it's nice to see that kind of open up.
So how do you see that as a positive change in representation? So you're giving great examples, but in terms of film and theater and art, where do you see that as a positive, like you said, unification movement, but as sense of self-acceptance and the potential for artists, our young artists, to be able to open doors, you know, go out there and knock on doors. Anyone.
I can kind of talk on that because I actually just went to state competition, thespian. Are any of you thespians out here?
Yes.
Any thespians? Yay! And, you know, when I won't try to date myself here, but, you know, because I'm 22. But when I was a thespian, you had to have the women do the women parts, the men do the men parts, and just like to your point. But now it's, you know, you can still see some of the theater teachers going, ooh, I don't want to do it because I don't know how it's going to be perceived, and then they go for it and the audience loves it. So I definitely do see, you know, that it's the change just from when I did theater to when my kids are doing theater. You did theater too.
Yeah, actually, we talked about this, but for me, when I was in high school, I wanted to pursue musical theater. One of the main reasons I didn't was because I had never seen a brown person on Broadway. And I just thought, well, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous dream. I'm never gonna make it. Like, that's impossible. And then
Hey, I was telling her the whole time, go do it. Just so
she
you guys
was.
know.
She encouraged me the entire time,
Just
but
so-
it has to do with representation when it does matter. Because it's a subconscious, subliminal message that we are constantly feeding ourselves. If we don't see ourselves, basically, if we don't self-reflect and don't empathize and find an identity, in something that we can relate to around us. So, for me last year, seeing Shoba as Eliza, I was shocked. I was thoroughly shocked, and then became lightly obsessed and lightly, yeah.
And that happened with her?
I know, right?
So in case you don't know, Shobha Narayan is the first East Indian descent female to be in a prime role in musical theater or theater.
Woo!
Yeah, and she just ended her run. I unfortunately didn't get to see her, but I just spoke with you did. Anyways, yeah, it's amazing to think it's not even a generation away where me in high school didn't have that, but now kids in high school right now have all sorts of representations. So, you know, dreaming and just being completely open to any possibility is a complete reality. And I couldn't even imagine that when I was in high school, so I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like maybe I'm gonna date her, when she was in high school.
I'm not giving away my age. I'm 22 as well. Thank you. I turned 23 tomorrow, by the way.
Happy birthday, guys.
It
It is actually your birthday.
It's actually my birthday tomorrow. I actually, so you brought up a point, the only reason I grabbed it is because, I'm sorry about that. Last year I attended BroadwayCon and was really lucky to sit in a panel about diversity and inclusiveness and how strongly the Broadway and theater community is committed to making that change. So I interviewed Shobha last year. That's how I got to meet her. That conversation, I would pull it up so you guys can listen to it. She was in shock herself that she had been cast. But she gave all the kudos to her parents. Her parents stepped out of the box of expectation and what we call presenteeism in terms of cultural norms. So when you're living a life like us, where we're from a different, maybe racially different, socially different, caste different, we fall into boxes of expectation. And what I feel Hamilton gives us is the ability to step out of that. It opens a window.
So how do you guys want to comment?
I mean, I would just say in general, I think Broadway as a whole, it is that, shattering reality for people. Because there's no one that's really saying, oh, you're in the box of Broadway, that's where you're going in life. Like, that's not a thing. Broadway is in and of itself a diverse, open community meant for everyone. Music is meant for everyone. Dance is meant for everyone. Art is meant for everyone. So it's, a combination of everything that's everyone.
Yeah, just stepping on that, I mean, I know for myself, I also went to like a predominantly white high school, and I'm of a mixed race background, so just seeing how things have progressed, because I actually went back to my high school last year to see them do Les Mis, and it was amazing, because again, they had that, the diversity in casting and in gender casting, which was really nice too, because I feel like that's happening, that's a slower growth than diversity in general in casting, so I really enjoyed that. But I feel like we're going to see that more and more on Broadway.
Yeah, we're gonna see women in the sequel.
So having budding young actors and actresses coming up. Although one other thing I did want to point out is Broadway. Before Hamilton, Broadway was dying. Broadway was just not where it was like back. When they had Chorus Line and all that, and it was on its heyday. It just plummeted. People weren't going to Broadway shows, and Hamilton and all of its diverseness, gives me hope as a country that something so diverse and so out of the box, would still have such a following. And you joked a little bit of the obsession, but it really it's a life changer. How many of you feel like this musical has changed your life? In one way or another. Definitely you, right? For sure. Because, and people laugh, and it just, I don't know that, and maybe some of you feel this way too, but when I first started listening to this musical, I was anti-Hamilton. It's like, I'm not going to listen to this musical. Everybody's telling me to listen. I don't like things that are all hyped up. I'm not listening. I thought Lynn is way too political. I'm not listening to this musical. And I was driving to St. Pete to visit I was driving here, but not for this. It was for something else. And I was driving to St. Pete to visit a friend. And by the third song, I'm crying my eyes out because I couldn't, just the imagery in my head of what the picture was painting. But I will tell you, and I told them this the other night, that I thought that King George and John Adams had a thing. Because he says, I know him. That's that little guy who was at 85. And so I really thought.
Can we talk? Can we say that here? I'm sorry.
Is that okay? Did I say something? No. How big are your ears, honey? Okay, anyway, they're theater kids. So they're theater kids, right? They're around it. So that it it was such a life changer. And then as I followed Lynn, because it's not just Hamilton, as we all know, it's in the Heights, it's even in Mary Poppins, you know, it's everything that guy touches is, okay, I'm gonna change your mind today. I am going to, you're thinking this, but watch, I'm gonna paint this beautiful picture for you, and you're gonna see it in a totally different way. And I think that's the whole, Hamilton is awesome, and, all the people involved in Hamilton are amazing, but, I think, and then with the history and all too, but I think, with him being the main creator, and then you see, all these other little tangents he goes off in life, he's still telling the story. He hasn't stopped telling it.
So, in keeping with that was our next question we
Oh.
were going to do.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect, actually. So, the Hamilton libretto is so much more than the medium of rap, like we were saying, right? Or musical theater. It's connected and culturally strengthening, and just absolutely pure fun, and tells us to be engaged in that fun. And as adults, we don't often do that. That's a problem. We need to understand that we should have fun in our life, healthy fun. How does this new linguistic style pave the way for social change?
I mean, it came at a time when spoken word, I would say spoken word and poetry have skyrocketed in popularity amongst, the younger generations, and I think it's beautiful. It's not just spoken word and poetry in, modern forms of, say, rap. It's, in general, actually learning about, say, different pentameters and the structure of actual poetry, and I think that that's something beautiful, the impact that a piece of art can have on the world. Socially, it's amazing to see that this one play, with all the thousands of choices that went into it, will have, an impact on the entire world. I'd also say that, Lynn has been doing that forever. Within the Heights at the time, it's just, if you think about the times, with media technology back in early 2000s, we didn't have the ability to have something, this piece of art, be so widespread. So we're lucky that Hamilton came at the time that it did. It was able to reach a global audience in the way that it has.
Adding on to that, what I think is really nice about the music is that it reaches out to people who wouldn't necessarily listen to spoken word or rap or anything that's not a show tune. So I think it's great that it's reached that audience. Like, even I have family members that I would say would never listen to this type of music who've gotten into it, which I think is great. And it's nice that it can bring in so many different groups of people together to listen to one thing.
Sorry, I'll jump in really quick. In terms of the musical brilliance of Hamilton is, you think, okay, it's a rap musical. It's totally not. We had some trivia earlier. There are so many references to so many different things. Of course, Miranda then pays homage to plenty of brilliant, rap artists themselves, but also jazz, classic Broadway, in itself, plays and writers. He references works of arts from all walks of life, and I think that that's something that he didn't realize had an impact of these people around the world not even knowing that they're indirectly exposed to so much.
And I just had a conversation with one of the moms who we've been doing trivia with, and she's a professor of math. I don't think she's here. And I wanted to really, what a brilliant conversation we had, because she wasn't sure how you could juxtapose math and science with this, and I said, I'm going to tell you how. Do you remember that question we had about how many words and how fast? And I told you, Lynn had to calculate to be able to make sure that those 20,000 words fit into 2.5 hours, and that David was able to do those 144 syllables in the amount of time he had to do that piece of musical art. And as I delved more into the science and the tech side of it, I was like, okay, there's speed everywhere. This is incredible. And we had a full 20-something minute conversation about how you can connect
math, science, technology, art. That's why it's now STEAM, it's not just STEM anymore, because art is connected.
Indelibly connected.
That's a great point because being a theater person, I've made a couple parodies of the Hamilton songs, or tried to, and it's really hard. Like if you ever tried to do a parody of Alexander Hamilton, it's like I don't have any more words. I'm at a loss of words, and I'm Greek, and that doesn't happen. So it's like I can't come up with another stanza to match that stanza to match that stanza. So I mean, he's brilliant. Like the writing of that is just to me, it's like a modern day Mozart. It's
Really, and actually a modern day Alexander Hamilton. Because I couldn't have thought of someone else who could imbibe the spirit and the motivation and the living genius of Hamilton to have transposed it into someone of this caliber, but yet you could never have thought it would make sense. How much more of an example do we need that art belongs everywhere? And without art, we're basically lifeless in a sense. So, sorry, soapbox.
I'd just like to share something that was profound to me when I had a chance to go backstage after some of the performances of Dobby Diggs.
lucky.
and
Lucky.
Chris-
I'll rather be with you, don't
and
rub
Chris
it in.
Jackson, that it's even bigger than what you're talking about how diversity serves. It's even beyond that because through the diversity, he's actually uniting us because they both told me in two different conversations about they didn't really feel connected to our nation. They felt that it was created by old white guys 200 years ago. They felt disconnected. So by this and them having to learn the roles and learning about their characters, yeah, it wasn't a perfect union. We have to keep making it more perfect, but they embraced it and that gave permission for more of the nation to embrace and learn about the difficulties with the same debates then as now. And that diversity that Lynn chose has brought us more unity of understanding the gifts we have as a nation.
That's amazing. That's actually, I mean,
Sums it up.
yeah, unification.
Leave now.
Sorry, it's much like
No,
that.
that was, actually, the craziest thing is that's one of our next
Pretty much
points.
the last.
We're actually gonna
the
speak
point we
exactly to
usually end.
that. That was perfect, Ran.
Yeah, the point we usually end on is how diversity brings us together. It's about unity. Diversity, positivity, and acceptance, all is unity. That's what we do as Diversity Geek. I 100% agree, and I think that the best thing that came out of this musical was the spotlight that it brought to history, because I did not learn any of this in my history class, in my US history class, and to be intrigued by history again. It sparked a generation to look back into American history.
I was just gonna say, my kids come home and they're like, they know about the cabinet battle, and even I'll go and look it up. And they know about the Reynolds cabinet because I always skip that song. But now they know about it, so I have to, I'm like, well, okay, yeah. And it's amazing how accurate. Because I know a lot of critics will go out and they'll go, oh no, it's not accurate. It is so accurate. I mean, yeah, maybe the Schuyler sisters not having, they had sons or whatever. Who cares? But it's a good song. But some of the stuff is so. I did that today, this morning. I was reading what Angelica said. The comma after dearest. That's true. That really happened. So so that really does imply, and he was able to kind of infer that. Yeah, maybe there was a little bit more there than just a friendly sister-in-law. Maybe she did kind of have the yes.
Also, we hear from teachers that never could interest their students in history, and the students are outdoing the teachers. The teacher learned old stuff,
Yeah.
and they've had to grow in their own understanding, and so it's a joyful thing that the students are leading the teachers in many respects.
So Katie.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's amazing to think that, a musical, a play, a man, whether it's Miranda or Hamilton himself, because obviously the play wouldn't happen without Hamilton. So to think that indirectly, Hamilton is still having this global influence on the world. It's amazing to think how history can be brought into the present and still make a change. When you're left in history, your legacy will always live on.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because, you know, how many of us really knew, I mean, I will admit, yeah, I did kind of think that he was a president. Because he's on a bill, I really kind of, yeah. So there's so much that we don't know, we didn't know about Alexander Hamilton until this musical came to life.
So there's something that I really want us to talk about very quickly, and I will reach into the audience for this next part as well. So what I want to really highlight is, in my studies running up to these panels, it occurred to me that without the indomitable challenges that Hamilton himself faced, we would never, none of us would be here today. Not the way that we are now. The reality that we know would be completely different. And I'm very much hesitant to know what it would have been like, especially for people who are multiracial, from diverse backgrounds. And the fact that Lynn is bringing to presence to give us a way to connect back to the same and the legacy that gave us the potential for the country that we live in, the potential for our freedoms, is mind-blowing. It's emotional, because I'm an immigrant. I came here as a 3-year-old kid, also from the Caribbean, so I'm very connected from that point. So learning his history, I learned my own histories, which was pretty crazy for me. And I delved straight into it. And how would that have happened if this musical had never existed? You have to really look at it from that point of view. None of us would be sitting here today. You have, I mean, and I'm saying that reaching across all borders, genders, races, ages, especially ages. How many times have you seen something connect almost every generation? I mean, right now, tell me how many are in the age between 10 and 15. Put your hands up for me. Wow, okay. How many people here are between 15 and 25? Okay, you just made it.
You're not gonna go any higher, or
I am. You don't have to self-profess. How many are between 25 and 35 or 40? Wow. And now 40 upwards of 60? How many from 60 and above?
Wow.
So, what I want you to know,
All right, I'm giving you a standing ovation, ma'am. Just letting you know.
so with you being here in this room, did you ever think you'd see the day, honestly, where we would, across all generations, genders and races, show such love and appreciation for Hamilton?
No, I did not, and I think that my late husband would have been so proud of all of you, and especially Gracia, for the Alexander Hamilton Awareness Society, because all of his life, he tried to do things and get Hamilton's name up front. And that's why when he was on President Eisenhower's committee for the birthplace of boyhood home, and he signed for Alexander Hamilton's birthday in New York by Governor Rockefeller, and things like that. He tried so hard to get people to do and say and think the way they're doing today in his lifetime, and it didn't work out. The picture that you show of Eliza Hamilton that was given to the New York,
Right.
what was it, right?
Oh, if we can find it.
Museum, the one of Elizabeth.
That was from your panel
Elizabeth
earlier.
Schuyler Hamilton. That was my husband's brother-in-law and his sister-in-law that donated that portrait to the.
Yeah, I saw that. So,
I mean, without the living and departed people that were actually part of this building, were part of history, that maintain our history, this wouldn't be anything. The AHA has 100% supported Hamilton to become what it is today.
and that's why I wanted to call it to everyone's attention.
When we look at diversity, we need to understand that it's a very broad spectrum. We really can't box in the definition of what we call diverse. So we are a diverse cast sitting right here in this audience today. And the fact that we can literally have 100 years represented sitting here should tell you something. This is what this unification movement called Hamilton, the musical, has brought to us, and what it has the potential to continue to bring to us as the message is spread literally globally. Because in 2020, they're going to be taking it to Canada, and then from then it's going to be spread across the world. So the language, it's unbelievable what the potential is.
So it's amazing that all of you are sitting here.
I just want to say, being 73 years old and living in the northern part of the country, originally, as my bride said, originally living there, Hamilton is bringing us together as a culture, as a nation, as people of color, as people of nationalities. You look at me, you'll say, I'm Italian, my name is Gasparini, but I grew up outside of New York City on a farm, and my grandparents are Hispanic. I grew up this way. And back in those days, there was a culture shock, culture difference. Women didn't get the right to vote until the 1920s. I remember. My mother does. But even Afro-Americans had the right to vote before women did in the country. A lot of people don't realize that. Women didn't have a right to own land in many, many states. But Hamilton, as a play, or Broadway, or bringing the arts together, is bringing our country together.
Yes.
I think more young people are looking at that, and they're visualizing themselves. I'm just not black or white or Hispanic, but I'm a true American. And the culture of American and the revolution and what Hamilton is doing is wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God. So I want to read really quickly a note I wrote. And, I don't know who's going to come and sit and talk to us and reach out across. So this is to tell you how much of the truth this is, this message. I wrote that the potentials for learning, for coming together as a nation, through the lives of the characters in the medium of the show, lends to the biggest takeaway is that we are all sitting here together, listening together, hearing this message, and we love it as one, regardless of where we came from.
Hey, I was listening to it too, and it was a great panel from my point of view.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, that input was amazing. That's how we actually love having our discussions, because if it's just, us talking, that's one thing, but to actually engage with the community and have a discussion, that's
And people can find more of your discussions where?
Yes, Diversity Discusses. We actually do have a series on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram,
On
all the
iTunes and
social
Spotify, you
media.
can find our podcast.
Just search for Diversity Geek.
Correct, yes. We do have a table out there you can grab a part on if you didn't catch what I'm saying, which is totally cool.
Thank you guys so much. I know we could have kept going, right? This is amazing. So I really appreciate everything.
Thank you. Take a couple of minutes, and then we're going to have a costume contest going on here. So anybody who's got a costume wants to be in a costume contest.
And we're gonna actually have a 5-minute one-to-one interview with the wonderful Stacy, who's gonna come up and help us and do in some representation. Come on, you know what's happening, girl. Let's go. Basically, what I wanted to do is highlight across the generational gaps, how important this has been and how much this can change someone's life. So, just a few quick questions.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we went over them. Do you want to say? So, what we wanted to discuss, my friends, well, remember how we kind of had a little chat back and forth?
Yes, we did.
And what I really wanted to know from your perspective as you're how old?
I'm 15.
You're 15. Wow. Oh my God. At the age of 15, how connected do you feel to Hamilton as a musical, but also as a message for you as a 15-year-old?
I would say as a musical, it kind of showed that there were different ways, at least to me, because I was in chorus for years, I took guitar, I've always been interested in theater, musical theater, as if that's shocking anybody. But
Oh, thank you. No, I don't have to yell.
sorry about that, I'm so fascinated, I forgot to introduce you.
But, you know, I am a tenor, and as a tenor, a lot of musical productions don't really know what to do, you know, if you're a female tenor. If you're a male tenor, great. Female tenors just, they get stuck in the ensemble most of the time, I find. So Hamilton has kind of allowed me to play one of the main characters who does more, you know, who is a very outspoken tenor, and it's helped connect with me on just like a 15-year-old as a message over, like, you know, it's okay, as many puns as I'm probably about to make, it's okay to take a break, it's okay to, you know, calm down, but there are also times where you do need to write like you're running out of time. You know, there are times where you need to buckle down and you need to focus, and one of my friends who could not be here today, and I'm so sad, his name is Sam, he's from Orlando, he's part of the Ardent Theatrics group that I'm a part of. He sent me a meme that said, it was Alexander at a writing desk, and it said, I know you want to take a break, but I would be so much better, or I would feel so much happier if you wrote like you were writing or running out of time. And I was like, that's adorable. I should probably do that.
So, I mean, at 15, we're trying to figure out who we are. So, I told you I was going to ask you some questions, girl. You said it.
I'm okay with this.
At 15, we're trying to figure out who we are. I think we don't figure it out until sometimes you can be in your 70s and still not know. Let's just be honest. I mean, hey, it's the truth. You're still figuring it out all the way. That's why we live, right? So at 15, putting it aspirations-wise, yes, musical theater, but connecting to the message of Alexander Hamilton. You're talking about 200 years ago, over 200 years ago. You, as Stacy, at 15, what message from Hamilton, not the musical, but Alexander Hamilton, do you think you've connected to this?
Hamilton in general. Just kind of the story of his life, of you know, there's going to be a whole lot of people who are trying to destroy your name. They're trying to take you down to their level because they have nothing better to do than to take people who are up here down to where they are. So, as a 15-year-old and an entrepreneur and a makeup artist and a whole bunch of other things, what it boils down to at the end of the day, I'm just a 15-year-old kid trying to get by. And because of social media, you know, I now have a following online, but with that following also comes responsibility, and it also comes with negative people who see my success and they're like, no, I don't want you to have this success because I don't have this. So,
I mean, but you're looking at Hamilton then as a person who gave you a positive foothold to be able to support your success and your growth.
I would say he's one of the pegs that, you know, that table stands on, but he also has allowed me to make so many friends that I didn't know that I could make without a medium like Hamilton that is so just, there's triple meanings in practically every single line of the musical, and you really have to buckle down and listen to it. And once you start listening to it, then you start hearing, okay, wait, no, Lynn said this, but that really means this. But wait, that also means this other thing that happened, in his childhood, and he's writing this at the very end of the musical. So it's kind of given me something to just kind of lock onto and really kind of look at his legacy for 200 years. 200 years. It's given me a chance to look at his legacy and realize that while, yes, he did a lot of great things, he also probably missed out on a whole lot because he did not want to slow down for once.
Yep.
And so it's kind of just made me, sometimes I would take things slow and everything, but there are also times where I'm like,
So I'm 15. I'm a lot older than that. And I am now
22, right?
I'm gonna be 23 tomorrow, so don't forget that. So I guess in the long run, what I wanted to highlight with the two of us having this conversation is how old was Hamilton when he was literally running a trading company? 14. There you go. Anything is possible, and we're giving this generation coming up that message that anything is possible and that they can achieve any potential across any spectrum of the world. So I want to thank you so much for doing that.
you're welcome.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and have our costume contest. So if any contestants want to start lining up, you can come up to the stairs here and to the stage on this side. And we'll just take you in whatever order you come up here. Do we have our judges for the costume contest in the room as well? Everybody here who's judging the costume contest? Okay. So what we'll do is, one by one, or if you're doing teams, you can do that. We'll have you come up, and then you can state your name, and you can state the inspiration for your costume, what you were aiming for, and how you did it, perhaps. If you purchased any of these things that were pre-made, substantially pre-made parts, then you should be honest and divulge that and tell us if any of those were bought that were pre-made by somebody else. Okay, so we'll get that rolling in just a moment. Before we do that, one more time, I want to thank St. Petersburg College Kids Campus for all of their help and giving us the facilities here. Wonderful. Daniel Connor, Provost.